Yo, Clay, what's up, man?
Hey, not a lot, you.
Good. Oh, good. I could hear you.
All right, so what's up?
Not too much. Just another day in paradise. Just recorded another podcast and starting to get starting to get fun.
That's good.
How about you? How's everything going?
All right.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. You're gonna be hanging out a while?
I don't have a lot of time, but for a little bit. What do you want done exactly with the podcast?
Uh, I think per episode, um, if a actor has an MP4 reel or some kind to actually adapt it to their episode and story to kind of like highlight them a moment. Uh, have a good commercial like break, like right at the 50% mark. Uh, I'll probably, if I can, give you while the opening music is going along with the visual before we actually get right into the conversation. Uh, I'll get the music to you, and I guess per episode, I'll send you a recording introducing the episode. And now our next guest, yada yada, and kind of just make it a little bit more like put a little showmanship to it, you know?
What do you mean by commercial 50% break?
Like a shout out to our sponsor. The only like just to kind of like, be like a really cool podcast. I know Happy Corner is the only sponsor, sir, that we've had at the moment. Just to kind of like break it up. I don't mind not having it. I just maybe have a
Because
little
if you do
pause.
that, there's different ways you gotta handle it on YouTube. Like specifically, you have to have it labeled that you have a technical sponsor for it. It's
Okay.
gotta be put in there.
Well, I own that one company, kind of. So you saying it because it's like a trademark issue, or is it just like whatever?
No, because that's what YouTube requires. If you have a technical sponsor for any type of video that you post in there, it's got to be listed in it. That's all.
Uh, can we not? I guess we don't have to call it one, right? We could just incorporate a.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to call it one.
I guess we'll figure it out. Um, the song was free. I got it off of YouTube. They just said to tag them, and we could use the rock and roll song. And I was like, great.
Which one's that?
It's if you saw Matt Jablonski's current podcast version, I was able to like click on the audio library that YouTube has just to see what they got. So I just clicked on rock and roll and I heard this song and it sounded like an upgraded version from our previous season. So that's about like 30 seconds long, but I couldn't like uh from YouTube edit it the right way where it actually transitioned into the episode appropriately, because then the song just either cuts out completely or it completely overtakes the audio from whatever Matt is talking about on the show.
So basically, you just wanted to fade out in the beginning. Like you want this is when you're introducing the guest, then I just have it fade out. We can only have it like you can have it like just 10 seconds or something like that. Nothing long.
You can play the whole thing. I would just have it like fade like on a steady low stream up until the point of the conversation's beginning, and then drop it down softer and lower and let it fade out and let the song just play through, and use whatever we were fading out on the back end of the podcast to use that same music and end it with the ending of that song on the back end. Thank you for listening to the Story Filmmakers podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Sort of like a closing credits with a little bit of sound and music.
All right, and he just wants to be credited for, and I'll probably link it to his channel then as well.
I put it in the details so far as a draft, but I just could not like I could not actually just like trim it and edit it from YouTube. So I was like, you know what? I'll wait until you and I have the conversation because I felt like I was messing it up already. Not my gift.
Hmm.
But I gotta make a
I
quick
got
phone call. Did
uh the just wanted to bring up. So basically, it's the Matthew Jablonski's performance reel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's for his episode. And I guess we could have him. I know Kyle was technically filmed first, but if his is ready first, we could publish it first just to kind of like get it on its feet, learn from it, and give me a few, I guess, extra days to pick the following episode or two where I could get what if anybody else has a reel they want to include on their episode just to get it into us by like within 48 hours. And then I'll do that for everybody else and we'll release them like 2 a week, 3 a week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we're good for the summer for the most part. I'm recording everything now. They're all currently on the cloud. And if you want, I could come over just to get a head count of where we're at. And then if there's nothing that's needed on the cloud anymore, I'll clear up some space because I can't believe it. Like so many people signed up and I was not doing anything during the daytime where it feels like a full-time job that I'm actually enjoying.
That's good.
How's it going, Mario?
I'm fine now. I had a couple of rough weeks. That's why I didn't attend like for 2 weeks, but everything is fine now. So I'm feeling so much better now.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, man.
What
Well,
about you?
I'm doing great. Just shot a couple podcasts and I found a really cool potential vehicle for the Astoria Filmmakers Club. And I was going to give this guy a quick phone call. So I'm going to be back in like maybe 5 minutes. So if I step off to the left, I got to bring my puppy outside to pee anyway. I'll be back in just a few short moments and I'll come back with an update. Be right back.
How are you playing?
I'm doing all right. Just been a little busy. Also, so I haven't been on for the last several weeks either.
Yeah, you are also working on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get things locked down on what he exactly wants for it.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully everything is sorted out. I think podcasts are very hot right now, so I wish you all the best.
Thank you. What have you been up to?
Well, yeah, I had a couple of very bad moments. Like 2 weeks ago, my best friend went to hospital. Then my parrot went to hospital, and both were very. Uh, they were in very danger. Their life was like in the road, you know. So
Sorry to hear
yeah,
that.
it was very depressing, and I also had a stop motion issue with my software. So I just had to uh, sort everything with my parrot because I had to pay all of his expenses. Also help
Yeah.
my best friend, and also updating my stop motion software. So yeah, it was very rough, man. Yeah, very rough. But it's nice to be back.
Mm, good to have you back.
Thanks, man.
I've been
So
just setting up some things, getting things working with clients. Had a video shoot that went horribly wrong last Saturday. But yeah, sometimes hardware just gives out, and I found out that it was the cable to my SSD. So the entire hour I was recording an interview, even though the camera showed it was recording, it wasn't.
oh no, that happens a lot.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's a common problem, you know.
I
Yeah,
the funny thing is I running through all the diagnostics on the SSD, which could have been bad. and everything's coming up green. It's perfectly fine. I was like, wait. So I start tearing out my cables. I knew which cable it is because I label my cables, and I label my SSD so I can see in case something goes wrong. I know which ones they are. And at first, it was mostly working. I say mostly working because it was moving at around half the data rate it should transfer at. Then about after half an hour of poking and prodding with like large data file sets, it finally just took a dump on itself and was like, yeah, no, this cable doesn't work. I mean, it did work at
Mm.
32 megabytes a second.
No.
The minimum I record at is 48 megabytes a second in Blackmagic RAW. There's no way. And I'm doing that's what's 12-1, what's called 12-1 ratio. I record at 8-1 ratio. So that data set is much higher than 48 megabytes a second. It's more like 96. I was like, okay. That sucks. But I have an extra spare drive now, and I figured out it was the cable. So at least everything's figured out now. Would have been nice if it was figured out sooner, though.
Yeah, and what happened with all the footage that wasn't working properly? Like you
Huh?
had to shoot everything again, or you just
Oh
had
no,
to.
we got to reschedule. So yeah, we're gonna have to shoot it all
Mhm.
again. I got 20 seconds of the guy, and that was the initial record test to verify it was working.
Yeah. Oh, I
It's like,
can
you gotta be
understand.
kidding me. The guy thankfully does actually teaches photography and stuff like that. So he's like, yeah, I understand it happens. That camera was aimed at him, and I had an LCD, external monitor attached up onto it as well, so I can keep an eye on it from my other camera, so I can monitor both cameras and the audio. And even he looked at the lady Donna, who I'm doing the stuff for, and he's like, yeah, it showed it was recording the whole time. it's it's like there's no way he could have known that it was not recording when it showed it was recording. And it's like, really? Whatever. Perfect term, shit happens.
Yeah, and it's real common. I don't know why, but sometimes just for a cable, everything is screwed up.
Yep. So like
Yeah.
before I go out on a video shoot or something, well, I'm gonna have to start testing all my cables. I mean, I got spares on me, but this thing, like I said, the camera doesn't show if it's not recording. In general, I don't know what the error was that allowed it to still show it's recording, because it's supposed to stop recording immediately and show if there's any type of a drop frame. So that means it wasn't even registering that something was dropping or anything.
Yeah. I know. That reminds me of a time like a few years ago that I was helping a friend shooting a short film, and the audio, yeah, something happened with the audio, and it was trash. We couldn't use any of the audio, so uh, we didn't have the time to reschedule anything, so we had to use the footage, and it became a silent short film.
Okay.
Yeah, with just
Yeah.
music and title cards like the old days. And yeah, we couldn't see the audio.
Mm. Okay, give me a second. I gotta look at something.
Oh yeah, sure.
My client's laptop isn't work. One of my client's laptops isn't working that Donna lady else was talking about. So yeah, I've got to do the upload of one of the files to MNN, or it was one of the Manhattan Broadcast Network thing or something. So I got to figure out which file I'm uploading to it. So fun. Okay, which ones did she already do? You know what? I know which one I'm gonna do. What is today?
Mhm.
Next Wednesday. Which date is that? That's the 26th. I know that because next Tuesday I have another video shoot thing I gotta do.
Oh yeah, and do you feel like I need to check every cable now that the
No,
or
I know which ones are well good, and these are going to be short shoots at least. So if anything were to potentially go wrong with a cable, I'd know immediately.
yeah, I understand the paranoia when something wrong happened recently, and you are just like you just have to double check everything.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's very traumatic.
I don't
But
want an MOU.
yeah, sometimes the camera, the cable, or something with the audio, I don't know, but shit happens.
Yeah, exactly. Interview with
Um,
Don Oriolo.
Hi, Melissa. Hi,
Hi,
Maria.
Mario. Good to see you.
Hi, Melissa.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Hi.
Hi, Gary. All right.
Just three people here, huh?
So far.
No, five technically.
I can hear everybody really well. So how's everybody doing this week? Pretty nice weather, right? Nice and cool, and big difference than last week. Very uh very oppressive, the heat, almost something you'd
I
see
could.
September, early September.
Actually, last week felt better for me.
When it was warm.
Yeah, my deal better temperatures between like 70 and 80 degrees.
Yeah, it's, my kind of like work requires that I wear in more formal attire, and not talking about a tuxedo or anything, but just maybe a suit jacket, and the hot weather is tough, man. I have light clothes, but still, it's just something you got to deal with. It's usually in the summer.
Yeah, yeah. I was just mentioning to Mario how this last Saturday I was doing a video shoot for an interview, and apparently one of my cameras didn't record because one of my cables went bad. And the way the cable failed is it didn't show that it stopped recording. So the entire time my camera showed it was recording, and it didn't record anything for an hour.
Wow.
And that whole day was just, yeah. Let's just say a number of things went wrong.
You figure the interviewer would have caught on and maybe alerted you or something, right?
No, what is because most of the times for like interviews and things, it's just me. I got two cameras for the interviewer and the person getting interviewed. And then one of the cameras has an external monitor for me to keep an eye on. It shows all the, stat information and everything. And the entire time it showed it was recording.
Okay, yeah. So now
And
you have to do it again.
yep, we're gonna have to reschedule it, and we would have done it then and there, but we were all pressed for time and things. And it was just like, oh, are you kidding me?
That means
And I didn't.
you'll do it better this time, because that's how it all works, right?
Yeah. The cable took like an half an hour before it crapped out on me yesterday when I was doing all the testing after the drive came back clean. And afterwards it finally dumped down. I was only doing at like 32 megabytes a second. And on the Pocket Cinema doing in Blackmagic Raw, I'm recording at around 96 megabytes a second. I was just like, there's no way this, like, it is the cable. And but thankfully I had everything labeled. I knew which cable it could have been wrong, so at least that narrowed it down.
you have like a stream or a blog, because you're very knowledgeable about all this Zoom stuff and cables and things.
I do have some like little tutorial things online on YouTube,
Oh, okay, cool.
but actually, that's kind of funny when you bring that up because my most watched video, I think, on my main channel for Ventsire Studios, which is my business name. Actually, I can pop it up right here. Is about the Black Magic Pocket Cinema. There's a sensor reset or cleaning or calibration thing, and image sensor calibration thing on the Pocket Cinema that people don't know is there. Oh my god, I've actually got over 2,000 some views on this video. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna share this link. And you basically you got to go inside the settings in the camera, and you've got to well, basically there's a button to reset the camera, and there's also calibrate image sensor. And when I forgot about the sensor at all, I thought it was something wrong with the camera, so I sent it in for repairs. Then eventually it happened again, sent it in, and got it sent back to me, and all they did was reset the camera. Well, the person who first did it knew what he was doing because it took care of the what looks like a stuck dead pixel on it, and they got rid of it. This person didn't know what they were doing. Then I'm sitting there looking at it. I was like, wait. And I'm like, I remembered reading it in their patch notes and things for updating the camera and the firmware and everything else. I was like, there is another something to hit. So I went through it, looked for it, found it, reset it myself, and calibrated it, and it was fixed. The dead pixel or stuck pixel was gone. Because I also popped up on my other camera. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? So I actually gave the repair place a call after that, and I just said to him, I was like, you should make a note on this, please. You know, I'm like, I know whoever did it and worked on it probably didn't know that this option was there, but this option is there. Please do it. But I just posted the link to the video on the chat.
You have a nice green screen too. It's very effective. That is a green. You're not in a high-tech living room like that, are you?
Yeah, it's a green screen.
That's
You can kind of tell when I'm doing this, but I'm using the most recent version of Open Broadcaster software, and some of my filters and things don't work in the beta version, so it's even more apparent than what it normally is.
Oh, okay.
This is using the virtual camera feature in Open Broadcaster software.
What do you do for a living other than stream?
This is what I do. I do multimedia design, video recording, filmography. I stream on Twitch, but that's just games once in a while when I get the chance to.
What do you mean filmography?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Filmography?
I'm not doing filmography, cinematography is just doing, general filming of things like interviews, whatever I get hired to do and so forth is what filmography is.
And where are you located?
Orange County, New York.
Oh, okay, not far.
No, I was supposed to do. We're gonna help a lady with a podcast. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but this guy she's interviewing as a lawyer, and he got called in, I guess, for a case. So it's got to be rescheduled for next Thursday or Friday, and then next Tuesday I'll be what's called Bannerman Island over by Beacon, up here in Orange County, and it's an old castle. They're trying to get get the money and things to set up for renovations and things to get the place fixed up. So yeah, a little busy.
And then Melissa, I wanted to ask you, you getting any more acting jobs?
Yes. Let's see. Well, I just got to go to the premiere of the It's Not True thing, which was a lot of fun. And the student film, something happened, sounded sort of similar to what Clay was talking about. They had some problems with the cameras and we have to reshoot it. I'm hoping to go this weekend, but I've been sick and I'm still testing negative for COVID. So fingers crossed. I think I might have an extra role in a remake of a Bessie Smith film, St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I was a little late to the call because I got on another call about that. So you never know what's going to come through, but it's all seeming like a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
you're lucky, you're lucky. Yeah.
So what do you do, Gary?
Well, I'm involved with a group. I write screenplays, and me and another gentleman who isn't here, Shalom, we're finally going to put together like a proof of concept. And I got the idea. We have a log line. In fact, I can read the log line for you if I can find it. And we have a location. And I started writing the script, and I'm up to pretty much the inciting incident. And I need to finish it, so when I talk to the lady who has the location, I can show her that we're kind of somewhat professional and prepared. It was maybe not a good idea to pick the location before I started writing it, because it seems my intended uses for the location really hasn't played out yet in how this is writing. But here is the log line. The title is Bottom Feeders. It's an action drama. It's 15 pages, so it's a proof of concept. And here's the log line. When a city hall sanctioned hit goes bad, a rogue detective must resort to underworld tactics to clear his father's name from phony charges. So it's definitely a crime drama. And Bottom Feeders is a screenplay that my partner wrote, Shalom. And it's very, very, he doesn't mince words, all right? He uses a lot of expletives quite often, and it's very, very raw. So I like the idea, I like that feeling. So I started writing the screenplay, the proof of concept, with that in mind, that kind of gritty feel. And we're gonna shoot it, and within limitations of the actual act of shooting that I've never done. I've never made a film before, so neither is he. But he has a lot of friends that do a lot of filmmaking, and they have equipment and things. I'm going to produce it. I mean, we're not talking a great amount of money. I'm going to direct it, and I have an idea how I want it to look. There's just things that I've never had to overcome as far as obstacles in doing this, and I guess I will have my baptism by fire. But it will be a lot of action, and
Yeah.
we don't really have a means for recording. I don't know anything really about that, the technical end.
What
I
do you
guess
mean you
I'll
don't have a
learn
means
as
of
I go.
recording?
Well, I guess you have to have a boom operator and require.
Oh, for the audio, yes.
Yeah, or you wear a mic, but that could be something is much more technical and much more expensive. Maybe we
Well,
can cheat it, where the actor has his back to the camera and we can dub it in, but
there's
cross that
several
bridge.
ways of in general doing it. Is one is generally the best way is the boom operator, for
Yeah.
somebody to be holding up the mic over the person and so forth, or the people right in front of them for their dialogue and talking. When the people talk, you move the mic back and
And
forth.
then how is
You
it
could
synced though? How is it synced? Is it
you do it in
live?
post.
While
There are two ways
yeah.
of doing it. It's not synced in live. This is all done in post.
Okay.
So what happens is either you can do it with the waveform way of doing it, or if you have specifically devices for the time code to sync everything together. But that's usually, of course, the more expensive way. And if you don't have the gear, then just try doing waveform and matching it really close together. Premiere and DaVinci Resolve definitely are very well at doing it. I'm sure Final Cut is as well, but I don't know how to do it in Final Cut.
And then
Like
let me ask you, you're very knowledgeable about this stuff. They don't use motion picture cameras anymore, all right? So they use video. And does a video come in different degrees of strength or optimum clarity? I mean, how do you?
What cameras are they
Or
using?
is it only based on a format?
It's based off of format and in general. You got the resolution, and you've got, of course, the quality format it records in what's called the codecs, which would be the video format itself.
So
Okay.
that's the format. That's what it's called, codecs.
The codec, CODEC.
Oh, codec. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cameras are commercial cameras, whether it be a Canon or whatever brand name, but they're cameras that are set up in this format called codec. And then the camera itself can be modified to a different amount of clarity. Maybe sometimes in video, the clarity is too much.
Actually, Nikon has a new camera coming out that is does 8K that apparently is so sharp it's ridiculous. But yeah, usually
8K.
sharpness, usually sharpness is not the biggest issue that you're going to be worried about. Like I have two Pocket Cinema 6Ks. They're a little soft for my liking, but with being the Blackmagic RAW format and things, you can modify them a lot. In fact, actually, let me share an image I took earlier. Let's see if I can just share this in here. You'll see how it looks. This is after applying the general filters and so forth. If you click on it, you'll be able to see it, and it looks, you know, really clean and everything. But the biggest thing is usually basic cameras record in H.264, H.265. Those are the codecs I was talking to you about for the video. There's resolution, of
That
course.
resolution is 6K, the one you just showed?
Well, this is the 4K out of the timeline. But yeah, the camera itself is 6K.
Welcome to Vinstar Studios. Today's video I'm going to be going over the
Somebody click the link.
It always seems to be with these videos is the overbearing contrast. And I wanted to ask you something. Let's say you're shooting outside and it's heavy shadows. So a video camera in this 6K or 4K is just going to destroy that image unless you fill in those shadows almost like a 1-to-1. And then the effect will look like 2-to-1 or 4-to-1. Is that how it works? You have to overcompensate to overcome that contrast in that.
If you're talking about how bright it is outside and so forth, you'll need an ND filter.
Well, that understood, but the balance of the scene really has to be overcompensated to give you the effect of a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1. Because if you shot it 4-to-1, the shadows would disappear. Right? Unless you lit them with video. In other words,
no, not just with the video.
like,
you're gonna need lighting for that.
And another thing too, when you're looking at the monitor of the camera, is that pretty much how it's going to look when it's done or pre-post, or there's another degradation after that?
No, there's the big thing that you're coming across. Again, with the shadows and everything, you're going to have to be asking, are you recording? If you're recording to H.264 or H.265, pretty much the image that you're going to see through the monitor is probably what you're going to get. What you see is what you get. If you're recording in RAW, that is completely different. Because RAW is more of a linear type shoot, and it gives you more flexibility and modifications later on.
Gotcha. When you say H.262, H.265, is that a setting or is that, what is that?
That is a codec. That is a specific type of codec.
Oh, that's a subtext. That's a kind of codec.
Yes.
Okay. Are there more than just H.62, H.65?
Yeah, there's Blackmagic RAW, there's Red, there's what is Canon using?
Oh,
I don't know what Canon might be using for RAW now.
manufacturer. Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the manufacturer and the quality of the camera.
Is there a setting on the camera that you can reduce or make higher? Or once you're in a let's see, H.262, you're in it. You're in it.
My H.264, the H.264, H.265.
Oh,
Bless you.
H.264. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, the
those are
quality
the-
is excellent, but it's almost too sharp, right?
It
I mean,
depends on the
it
camera
becomes- it
sometimes. Like if
becomes
it is
like
too sharp, you
almost
could always
signature.
lessen it too.
Yeah.
That's always, again, more stuff you could do in post. ProRes is another codec that is used a bit.
And what about this format called Red 8 or High 8 or
Red.
Red? And what?
It's the proprietary used for red cameras. How it is recorded as.
Oh, so that's a particular camera, because I've seen motion
That's-
pictures or like features that I've seen, and it's kind of interesting. They get a lot of nice grainy effects with that, almost like taking film that's very fast and pushing a film. You get a really grainy look. It's a nice look.
That's either post or they're shooting in what's called a high ISO.
High ISO.
Usually that would
That's
be
like a
more
film speed.
prevalent.
Yeah. High.
No, ISO is used for how much light is allowed in the sensor. The higher the ISO, the more light you get in from the sensor, the brighter or darker scene can look when you're recording, but it also introduces noise, like a film grain.
Correct. It's kind of like the same effect you would get if you were shooting somebody with a infrared camera or something which will highlight the heat. You get this like a ghosting effect.
That would probably be in post unless it's a really crummy camera.
Gotcha.
Like I'll tell you here. So this is a Nikon D3300. It's got what's called an APC sensor in it. If I remember correctly. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. And sensor size matters. The higher the sensor size, the bigger the sensor size, the better the quality and the better it shoots in lower light. Like this, like I said, is an APC sensor. It's a small sensor versus my Pocket Cinemas, which are Super 35s. So which is really decent at low light. Now there's also full frame sensors. I think the master sensor or something. I can't remember the name of the one that's above full frame. But the full frame one is usually what is used for most cinema. But Super 35 works extremely well also.
And let me ask you this: if you shoot something that in your mind's eye, or in the not mind's eye, but in your monitor looks very, very good as far as being balanced or saturated, or the effect you want, then you take it to post. Can you then even exploit that image more as far as saturation of color or?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, you could do it with generally.
So in other words,
any
what I'm
type of
saying
format.
is shit in, shit out, right? So if it's excellent quality going in, you can even pull out even a better quality coming out. But if you start with a weak product, you're not going to be able to save it in post.
It depends on the type of footage.
Yeah.
Like obviously I look decent, I look pretty natural in here. Say I was recording something in this format, I can ink and modify it around however way I want. I could even show you kind of like in here, and this is just something that's very basic. Like I can modify if I want to make it look greener, I can make it look greener, I can make it look redder. And you can also change the saturation up and down even more. You can do a lot more in post on an actual editor than like say this, but I'm just using it as a basic example. But if you're recording an H.264 4 and 5, you generally want to try to keep it as close to how you want it to look in general, because you will have a lot less flexibility in those versus a raw format.
Okay.
And
the
one
raw format is the same thing applies too, right?
And same thing applies, but you have more flexibility. Like a lot of things are more recorded in RAW than just the image itself, the video itself. You're getting lighting capture data. You're getting possibly multiple ISOs you could be recording at. You're getting the temperature controls that you can finely tune versus one that's not a RAW format.
So if it's raw, then you have presets that affect the raw image going in while you're recording. Then there's like a palette of things you can do to raw that you can't do to H.264 and H.265
Yes, you're able to have more flexibility
while you're shooting or
settings.
prior to actually doing the shot.
No, while you're shooting, because it records it all onto the video file.
I mean, obviously, so what you're saying, while it's actually recording, you can tweak the dials. But if they're
You can tweak the
preset
dials in post.
as well in RAW, so a double. So what's used
like-
a lot? Is it the H.264? Is it the RAW? Or is it the cameraman who has to understand that?
It's the cameraman who really has to understand that. I thought you said they had cameras. Do they have cameras or
no,
no?
I want to be a little bit knowledgeable about this stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm not,
Like, if
I'm
you
not a
can get me-
cameraman, so.
Yeah. If you can get me the camera information, I could give you all the information that's on the camera and suggestions and things. Like if you're shooting on a bright day out and say you're filming a band or somebody that's underneath shade or something, you're gonna have to get an ND filter. You're gonna have to have that on that camera, or you're gonna blow out the luminance on that scene, and it'll be washed out and things and so forth.
They don't have a device on the camera which is similar to an aperture or a film speed setting or nothing like that.
There are 3 things on the camera that will help control general lighting. That is the ISO,
Okay.
the f-stops or aperture,
Yeah.
and
The shutter speed.
what?
The shutter speed.
The shutter speed. I'm getting asked like 20 different questions. So yeah, the shutter speed is the third
Yeah,
one.
but this is on a video camera. These 3 things, they have a shutter.
Yes, those three things are on a video camera, but a lot of professional cameras, actually the pro version of the ones I have, all have ND filters built in as well. ND filters are required.
Because of the ISO being so sensitive that even if you stop down, it doesn't eliminate all that light going in. You still have to cut it at the lens.
No, it's okay.
Oh, the
Getting
neutral
getting more
density goes
more
over
technical in it.
Oh, okay.
The-
That doesn't go over the lens. It goes over the
Yes.
sensor.
No, it goes over the lens, unless it's like the pro cameras, which have it over the sensor. I have like my camera, my Pocket Cinemas 6Ks do not have ND filters built in. So I have a variable one I attach to the lens, and I could just control it that way. Now, what it basically does is say my hands are the visual spectrum of brightness on a camera that I can see, say you're shooting at a range that's like right here, but the lighting is really all the way over here. What the ND filter does is it brings the brightness down so that the contrast fits together and it is not blowing out on the camera itself.
That could be achieved physically too by putting a cutter or kind of like filtering that light, cutting it off, or putting like a screen or a net. I mean, I understand that concept. Yeah, I've seen that. But I wanted to ask you a question. Maybe this is very too radical, but do they have a volume control on the ISO itself, where you could turn up the intensity or sensitivity or turn down the sensitivity, or it's always at one level?
In post.
Oh, okay.
In post, you go into the raw settings for the camera, and then it has a certain range. Like on the Pocket Cinema, it's that I have is from 100 to 1,000, then 1250 to like 3,200. But if you are shooting at, say, something that's too dark, you're gonna have to hit that up to 1250, and then again, if it's a lot of brightness in the scene, also you'll need that ND filter to bring everything back into range that the camera can record without overblowing it.
And then the actual file, because it's all computer, right? That you put a file into a
Yes.
computer program and then you can edit it. What is that file
Mhm.
called? Is the file called H.264? Or
No, it's that is what the technical term for those extensions on the end is the handler.
what's it called?
The handler is the
Handler.
technical term.
Okay.
Like .mp4, .mov, .braw, those are all handlers.
Gotcha. Which one is prevalent, or which one is like the standard?
If you're recording in H.264, H.265, it'll probably be MP4.
Oh, MP4. Okay, I know what that is. I see that all the time.
Yeah. If it's more towards just like say H.265 maybe or ProRes, you'll probably see .mov, which is the Apple format handler.
Oh, okay.
And RAW is whatever they have specifically, like Blackmagic is .braw.
And what's raw? Just .raw.
That's one of the just like I said, the specific type of format for recording that records the more data on a camera that you can edit out
Okay,
later.
so
Like,
that's a handler. It's just the name raw.
it's just the name. It's just like for Blackmagic, it's .braw for BRAW. The ISO thing
BRAW.
that I explained, the ISO thing I explained before, only works for the multi different selections on it in RAW. If you're doing like ProRes or the others, it is not a RAW format. It does not have that recorded into it. That's why you want to make sure you have the scene look as close to as what you want as possible, so that it makes it easier in the post edit.
Gotcha. And so it seems to me like raw would be if you're doing something which is going to be very unpredictable and a lot of different, like a run and gun, or if you're trying to shoot something without any, you're just going into a place, then you at least have more control of the back end in the post.
In the control of the back end, yes. If for that, like say, I shot a video at a place called the Bitter End, and I had no control over the lighting or anything. So in that kind of an aspect, you can, in a certain degree, B-Raw does it. But of course, any etiquette and practice for a video that you're shooting, especially with one you have control of the environment and so forth, you want to record it in as the closest to the quality that you want to go out. Of course, you got more flexibility, like I said, still regardless of it being B-Raw, but B-Raw is just a higher quality than the others that do not have, or what the RAW formats do not have.
All right. And do these files become very big?
Oh yeah.
And let's say 15 minutes, how big is that file? 15 minutes.
Hold on. If you're recording in, I'm gonna write down. You're making me hold on. I'm doing some math. So around 15 minutes would be on what I record at, maybe around 75 gigabytes. But I'm doing it at a pretty decent quality, really higher quality.
So obviously the cameras don't contain that much potential for capacity for that. So things have to be done. A camera
it depends on what your camera. It depends on what your camera again records at. If it's recording at H.264, H.265, those files will be a lot smaller. But for like me on my professional cameras, I have an external solid state drive attached to them that are each 1 terabyte. So I can record several hours of video footage on those things.
So there's devices that are auxiliary to the camera where it feeds it in. It would seem to me that you would shoot, you would download it, and then you would go to your next shot or your portion. And then because having access to a lot of data space will prevent the data from being corrupted. Because rather than, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you
All right,
just fill
so
it up and then you dump it, you fill it up and then you dump it.
well, that's generally what it's done. You fill
Yeah.
it up and you dump it. This is a memory stick and memory stick, a SD card from my Nikon that I showed before. Versus I
Yeah,
could
let's see a
grab
big-
them in a minute or so, but yeah, basically, is you record directly to them, and when you're done, you have everything marked and whatnot. Then you dump it off onto wherever you have the main storage located and so forth. Like for what I primarily do right now, I have what's called a NAS, which holds everything on it. And on top of it is, if I say a drive fails on, I can replace that drive and the entire thing will rebuild itself. And I also have external drives on top of it as a double layer of backup protection, just to be safe.
And then what is the editing program called? The standard one for just MP4?
There are
Yeah.
there are three primaries: uh, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, and DaVinci Resolve Studios. I edit off of DaVinci Resolve.
I do Adobe like scanning software for black and white photographs and colored photographs. That
Mhm.
it still isn't as good as a print, but I mean, you need a really good negative and then a really good printer too, if you print it on paper. But I think with video, it would be a lot more forgiving because the format is almost better than taking a scan of silver or the black and white negative and turning it into a print.
Well, that's not getting into color management or color formats either. So you got to make sure you've got the equipment and everything to handle that properly too.
Yeah, so that in and of itself is something you take to somebody who is an editor, who's a video editor, correct? And the
Yes.
actual decisions of the cuts and things, are they left to him, or do you sit there
No,
and
no,
tell him
no.
cut here?
You
but
sit there and you work with them.
Gotcha.
Like it's becoming. I don't know. I don't think Adobe has this, but DaVinci Resolve just released a new beta version that you can actually preview on your own private cloud account live, like we're streaming here live, like from
Yeah.
like say from my, if I'm editing something for you, we'd be in our own private session room where I could be editing live for you, and you could preview it from wherever you're at, and you don't have to be here, so you could see the edits and things that are being done at that
But then
time.
you'd have to share or use the same monitor quality, right? Because mine was a
They
little.
wouldn't work that way.
It doesn't.
I would tell you that right now. It would not work that way, primarily because okay, I have something that's called a deck link. The deck link is another Blackmagic device. I have it primarily right now connected to my TV. I have a LG NanoCell, which is a really high quality, HDR editing display, or HDR TV that can be used as an editing display in order to make HDR content. Because not even my ProArt Asus monitor next to me, I don't have the HDR one. This thing will not edit up in HDR. I need something that'll do HDR, and this bypasses the computer windows and sends it straight to my TV, so that the TV is completely in full compliance HDR format and so forth. So in that aspect, I would think you would still have to be in person for that. I might be wrong. I might be able to send it out to a client who has a deck link and it hooked up to an HDR display, and they can preview it in HDR. Who knows? The Blackmagic does a lot of things. That's just pretty, well, amazing.
All right, so it seems like this whole video world makes it much more. I wouldn't say easy because you still have a lot of problems to overcome, but it's not as bulky or overwhelmingly labor intensive as a motion picture can.
It depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, if you want to do like a lot of high quality animations and things, you're gonna have to use like After Effects or Fusion. After Effects is Adobe, Fusion is DaVinci Resolve Black Magic again. It's all can be very complicated. It
No,
just depends on where
basically,
you want to go with it.
shooting scenes outside, inside, with,
Right,
oh yeah, another thing too, as far as color temperature. Is there a device on these cameras where you can go,
you can set a white balance, yes.
okay, oh, so you
That
set the
deals with
white
that.
balance for the lights in the shot and then it goes to 32 or?
No, you set the temperature on the camera to set the white balance.
Oh, okay.
You could also use sometimes there's a. I'm gonna grab something. I'll be right back.
All right, sir. It's very interesting. I hope everybody is enjoying our little tech talk here.
Yeah, this is a very useful post-production class.
I think so too. I think this all goes hand in hand with the writing and the shooting, and certainly if you're going to be the author of a piece of work, which is all images, you kind of have to have a handle on this stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that overwhelming.
Oh, I think once you get used to it, it's like very easy.
I don't know how far forgiving it is, though.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. You got
All right.
a device for us to see.
So usually you can set the temperature, of course, in the camera itself, but this is what's called a color chart. You can't see the green, obviously. But this color chart is what you would also be able to do in the post editing, and you can just set everything so it lines up with the different colors, and then it'll actually you just tell it what temperature you want the scene to be at, and then it'll automatically calculate how everything should look.
Irrespective of auxiliary lighting or artificial lighting that is a different temperature. Like if you had halon lights, but you're shooting with indoor film, then the color would get all whack. Stuff like that is not going to correct. Everything has to be somewhat in line, right? Like if you shoot daylight film indoors, you know, or if you use interior film outdoors, you'll see the light will turn very blue, like in that scene in Eyes Wide Shut when they're in the at the party. You see the light coming in; it's like super blue. As he used a different indoor film, and then that daylight turns super blue. Something like that you could play with. I mean, the camera can be used as a tool in that way, but you almost got to pre-visualize.
Yeah, you have to pre-visualize if you're going to be having daylight coming in and so forth. You will want to adjust the lighting specifically for that scene itself so that everything matches. Like all the cameras around me are like 5600K, which is daylight. And that's what I usually do, and that's what I shoot with when I bring my cameras onto set and so forth. Usually it's the generic. So if you're going to be shooting with different type of lighting and so forth, say you got different LED colors of blue, red, so forth and whatnot, if you're going to use a color chart, shoot it before you have those lights on. Take a preview shot with the color chart so that you can know what it's supposed to look like before those lights go on. Because after you get those lights on, if you bring that color chart up, it's going to skewer everything in post.
Gotcha. All right. And this kind of calibration, that's usually done before any shooting even begins. The cameras come calibrated, or at least the operator will calibrate his camera.
It should be calibrated before you start the main shooting. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And when you calibrate it, you have to have like almost like a copy stand set up where you have like a cross light and everything's even, or you just hold it in front is enough.
You just hold it in front. That's it.
Yeah.
You hold it in front of the scene.
Yeah.
I had this one shoot against this guy John Batdorf is his name. I don't remember where it was. We didn't get the interview done on him yet, but the lighting was kind of funky, and I did a way where I combined the shots together so that it made it look more natural, but also included the different incorporated the types of lighting that was inside the room itself to make it look, higher quality. I think I have an image of that. I have to take a look.
And these cameras, they're like super portable, right? I mean, they're set up where they can be mounted and they could be put on tripods, or they can be hung, and right. And they're somewhat durable, or they're super, super fragile. I mean, you can't get
You don't want to drop them.
no, but I mean, they can be handled in a way which is a little bit more in the sense of like a run and gun, or
Oh yeah. The one thing to take into consideration, though, if you're gonna be talking about using shoulder mounting while running around and stuff, the heavier the camera, the more steady it is.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not really a cameraman, although I've had cameras. I am a photographer. I've done that for a long time, but I've never operated a motion picture camera outside of a Super 8 or something. But let me ask you this: like the effect of a Super 8, like an ASA of 100, but you're shooting outside, so you'll get this like a really grainy effect. You see that in film sometimes. This kind of effect can be recreated post, right?
Yes, it's a film grain filter.
Yeah. Oh, so in the program you say film grain filter, and the image will appear, and then you can dick with that too, right?
And then, yeah, you can
Low,
mess with the settings and so
gotcha.
forth. Yeah,
Okay.
it actually
So
has
there's a palette of
different
settings
presets too.
in these
Yeah.
post programs. There's like a palette of settings, very much like an
Mhm.
audio engineer. He can fuck with the sound, but you can fuck with the image in that way. All right, cool.
All right, I'll be right back again real quick.
I'm glad everybody's having an awesome day today.
No, we were going over more of a technical aspect of video cameras. The formats. Most what I've taken from his little talk was shit in, shit out. So the best quality going in is going to guarantee you even a lot more latitude on the post. So
All right, I'm back.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you really
What were you saying?
can't. No, I was telling Phil that maybe my big takeaway is you got to have the best going in. So going out, you'd even have a lot more latitude and a lot more ability to change it more. But if you have something poor quality going in, your post is not going to save you to some extent, but it'll suffer. Yeah.
So like
much
you've been asking about portability, this is a Pocket Cinema 6K.
And then
you know,
that's 6K, and that's H.264.
This is ProRes or B-RAW.
Oh, ProRes or B-RAW. And that's a decent camera right there. That is a very decent, I would think. Yeah.
This is a decent camera. The only thing missing is I don't have the external drive attached to it right now, and I don't have the cable plugged in for the recording for the storage. It also takes CFast. Which slide takes the CFast? I think it's over here. Yep, right here. You can put in a CFast 2 card.
That's a bigger SD card, just a bigger size, right?
Yes, it's a lot bigger than an SD card. But it's still a type of format.
And then that can be rounded to a bigger monitor that is off, like set on a stand. If that camera was like set on, it's like a permanent stand for some reason, a cable can run to a monitor where you can see it better than the little one in the back, right?
Yeah, it's got HDMI. You can't really see it on here, right in here. And then you can either have it attached.
How does the back of the camera look? Oh wow, it's pretty big.
You can either attach it to like a wire if you have a wireless the external display, you could just route the cable to the wireless, transmitter, then just receive it to the wherever. But you can run the cable. That's usually what I do. I have at least one of them. Like I said, I would have the monitor on top of it so I can watch both cameras at once while they're both
And that's
just
6K.
sitting there.
6K.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the B-Rod 6K.
D-Ross. Oh yeah, okay.
The let me check. ProRes, yeah, is only 4K. So like if I show you here, you'll see the formats on it.
Oh, okay. I see.
Like at the top, you see Blackmagic Raw, and you see ProRes, and then you see the different settings underneath it. Like the bottom section is the resolution. The section below the Blackmagic Raw, that is the quality control, which is I use the ratio one.
And the higher the res, according to that little scale, the more space is going to be used quicker on that SD card.
Yes, because you're going to be recording at a higher data rate.
And do they have auxiliary hard drives that you could plug in, like a big one? Let's say you're doing like something that's taking a long time, like 10, 15 minutes of very high res that is beyond that SD card, yet you don't want to stop and put another one in. Can it be downloaded into like a physical hard drive? Or
that's the
unrealistic?
okay.
Oh,
This is going into data transfer speeds and things. All right, so I did pull them out. So this is the one I just got. Or that when I was getting it in case the other one was bad. This is a Samsung T7. This is a 1 terabyte drive, and it'll record at sustained full data rates all the way till the end. All right, later, Melissa. Sorry, we've been kind of taking over the whole thing. Have a good night. All right, so this will record at like 400 megabytes a second, all the way up till 1 terabyte is used. So it could sustain it very well. Most drives, or most solid state drives, or what's called M.2 NVMe drives, have a certain amount of cache in them. Once that cache limit is a DRAM cache, which is basically like RAM that's put into a computer, it stores all of that in there, but then it eventually runs out of it, and it has to dump it off somewhere. Now, I don't know exactly what the DRAM cache is on the Samsung NVMe's. They might be full speed all the way down. I haven't fully tested them myself. Like, not a lot of cameras use NVMe's. In fact, actually, the only one I truly know that I'd seen doing it is the Blackmagic Ursa 12Ks. But eventually, yeah, like you're saying, if you're taking it from a drive that's already been used and you need to dump it, you're going to have to potentially factor in there's going to be downtime to get that information dumped onto an external that is a lot higher. Like if you're using just a 10 terabyte hard drive, it'll take a long time to dump that 1 terabyte because it's going to be going at like maybe at max 150 to 200 megabytes a second only.
Gotcha. That's an unrealistic way to do it. That's an unrealistic. It's
So,
better to use separate SD cards or separate storage and keep.
Yeah, the best idea is separate storage, mark everything. That's what a secondary DP is supposed to be there for.
Oh, gotcha.
They're the ones who're supposed to be, setting the things up on the slate, making sure everything is labeled on the sheet properly, and changing the drives out and marking what drive was for what specifically.
Very much like a film guy would have to keep track of the film and load the magazines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Interesting. And then I was just curious, what is the cost of that kind of camera? The one you just showed me, the 6K. What is that? Something like
this
that
one? 3,000 for the setup I have.
And then take the cap off. I want to see the lens.
This is just a basic EFS lens. This is a cheapo basic lens.
It's variable focal length, right?
Yes, it is. It goes from 17 to 55.
And then what kind of f speed is that? I mean,
2.8.
Oh, 2.8.
It's 2.8 throughout the whole length.
Oh, okay, very good, very good.
Because like the Nikons or a lot of other cameras, when you change the focal length and you make it, a bit larger, it actually reduces the f-stops.
Right. Kind of like putting an extender on the lens. You'll.
Uh-huh.
Hey, that speed of 2.8, is that like a max speed, or they come in like 1.4 or 1 or
So
2?
the feed speed is shutter speed is different.
No, and I
focal
mean
length.
like just the maximum aperture of the lens, or that.
No, the maximum aperture goes lower. I've got Rokinons that are fixed focal lengths that are 1.4.
Oh, okay, but they're fixed. Okay, all right. And do you have that? Those lenses can be replaced. They come on and off the camera, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they get changed all the time. This is a EF is the format or lens format that's used on the pocket cinemas.
And then that lens alone must be a fortune too, right? Like $2,000, $3,000 more.
No, this lens was only around. Well, I was talking about the whole body and setup. This lens, last I saw, was factoring around $750,
Okay.
and it's like 2,000 for this. Then you got to spend like around $100 for a 1 terabyte
Okay.
T7.
You know,
and
that's
then you got to
cheaper
get
than a photographic camera.
Well, it depends on like photo camera you
Well,
get.
like a Leica or a Hasselblad, those things are a fortune, yeah. Or
Oh, yeah. Hasa, you better be doing real commercial work.
And do they have auto settings on them? Like auto exposure, auto focus? Or
It does have
everything-
auto exposure. This has autofocus for where you set it to. After that, you've got to manually change it around, or you got to reset the autofocus again.
So you say autofocus between 5 and 7 feet, something like that? Is that how it works? Or
Oh, you mean how close you can get to the camera?
well, if it's autofocus, if the subject moves, it stays in focus, or you physically have
That again deals with many different factors.
yeah, like
You're talking about what kind of perceivable range is the focus.
is there such a
When
thing as
you-
depth of field on those? They have depth of field.
Yes.
Okay.
Like the higher the focal length, the less focal range you have. But you can increase the focal length by increasing the f-stops.
Mm-hmm. They work very much like photographic cameras, very much.
Oh, it's exactly like the photographic camera. Only thing is recording, an X number of frames per second and making it into a video.
Yeah.
Like on a 12:1 ratio on this, I can get around 6 hours
Yeah.
at 24 frames per second. Of course, if you increase the frame rate, the less space you're gonna or less time you're gonna have to record as well, because it's increased data rates.
Wow. Very doable. Very doable. It's kind of perfect for very low budget shooting, right? It doesn't take away the necessity of lights and things like that and control, but it certainly makes the camera end much more portable.
Yes. I mean, something like, again, it's pretty much as small as you're gonna get for a cinema camera. I mean, you could get like
bigger. They come bigger than that.
have you ever looked at an Ari?
Oh no, but those are film cameras though, right? An Aeroflex?
Well, there's still, use storage and everything else, but these are more, running the gun, of course, and quickly moving around. But there's the idea of the reason why Blackmagic came out with these cameras is they wanted something that was smaller, that would be more again towards the cinematography and everything else that could match out. That's why they have the raw format and everything else. If you go any price range, usually like lower than this, it'll be H.265 or H.264. It will not be raw format.
Gotcha. So if the camera allows RAW, that means it's somewhat a little bit more sophisticated in its
Yes.
ability to record. All right. So that Black Magic, that's a brand name of a camera. Is that what you're saying?
Black Magic is the company,
Oh, okay, okay.
and they make everything from, well, this is about as low quality as you get from Black Magic.
Oh, okay, that's the
From
bottom line.
lower end, this is lower end towards full cinematic film cameras that they make and studio equipment and so forth. They do a lot.
Oh, man.
Like I said, they have a 12K, what's called the Ursa 12K. That is a 12K camera that you can record on.
12K.
And one of the nice things is that, you know, most films, like films these days, are still like 4K, and this is again 6K. So another thing that it allows you to do is to digitally crop in 1.6 without touching digital resolution and, you know, upscaling at all. So you've got also a certain amount of room, that wiggle room you can work with. You know, say this is the 6K, and this is the 4K. You've got this much room you can shrink into that 4K, or you
Gotcha.
can, you know, expand out and then allow inside it, you know, because once you go past the 1.6, it becomes digital scaling. But before then, it's all, you know, natural resolution. It's all good.
Well, the degradation in the image would happen if you expand it, right?
Yeah, yeah. As soon as
If
you
you shrink it, the resolution wouldn't suffer.
well, that's what I'm saying is if you expand it, it's a 1.6 increased resolution from the where it is from the 6K if you started with it with the full frame that you're able to mess with, and you're not touching a digital upscale at all.
And that's a camera you use most, that Black Magic.
This is the camera I use, yes.
Hmm. Very interesting, very interesting.
Here, I'll give you another link to look at real quick. It'll show you some of the green screening stuff and thing I did for another client. This is the John Banieri thing that I had posted on YouTube. I don't know if Phil has seen this yet or not.
I don't think I've seen it yet, no, but I know John. No spoiler alerts. So what was that, like his acting real?
It was I took a example of how the green screening process and everything does that I went through and set it all together. The background he's sitting at that table, I made it in Blender. It's not even real. It's actually supposed to be like a mob type of scene or something. He's supposed to be acting like a mob guy sitting at a booth at a restaurant. So I designed it all up. And then you've got all the editing. But the whole point is I'm pointing out, you know, you can see the lighting, the cameras, and how the camera looks and so forth with it and whatnot. And it's looks really good. But that's, of course, getting everything set up and whatnot. I'll tell you this, though. Keeping everything color matched with his arms and stuff with that glossy table to get rid of that green was a pain in the rear. But, you know, it's not too difficult if you know what you're doing. I showed somebody the nodes on it. No, that's called nodes in DaVinci Resolve in their Fusion section. He took a look at it and he went, nope. Actually, I think that was Powell. Leonard. Ella's husband. Phil's not even looking.
Oh, you helped the green screen with Powell from
No. I showed him the nodes in Fusion for what I did to design this little scene here to put onto, you know, onto my YouTube channel. You know, saying, you know, thank you, John Bernier, for choosing Vensire status. And he's just like,
he made you take it out.
No, I didn't. not him.
Oh, gotcha. He just didn't want to have that type of work done.
I'm not talking about John Bernieri.
Right. I was talking about Powell. He didn't want to work with you on the green screen project, or he was
No, 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 no. He just saw the work that's needed to put into it to understand it all, and he's just like, he's like, no, I don't want to do that. As in, he doesn't want to. He doesn't understand how that is all put together. That's all.
because they had some green screen work done in their Kong show variety show.
Mm-hmm. Well, he doesn't. I don't. I know he does some of the. He does generic editing, but I know he has somebody else who helps him with some of the editing too. So.
Gotcha.
But the whole point is that I'm trying to make things like a seamless transition, you know, natural looking, regardless of green screen or anything else. But it comes out good. These cameras are good. They feel a little soft in the recording, so I have certain tricks with the sharpening specifically. Like you're saying, a lot of cameras are too sharp, or a lot of the, you know, recordings are too sharp. There's a difference between the recording being too sharp or people editing it to look way too sharp and not natural. That is another thing.
Yeah.
So like if I'm going to add some sharpening to something, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, does this look natural? Does this look like if you're looking and talking with somebody, it looks like an actual person instead of being overly blown out? You don't want that. So that's all fine details you need to work with in the end. You're muted, Gary. Gary, you're muted. We can't hear you. You hit the mute button on Zoom. You got to re-click the mute button on the bottom left to unmute yourself. Unless he's talking to somebody else, I don't know.
Is unmoved. I don't know how that happened.
There we go. There we go.
No, I'm saying that the image you showed us earlier of the man in the plaid shirt and the woman, I find that to be a little too contrasty, a little too sharp. And it's, I mean, informationally representational is great, but it seems the lighting is too even too. I mean, if the lighting had a little bit more of a ratio, maybe the sharpness would go away, or would it get sharper? That whole idea
Actually,
of contrast in video, they kind of go hand in hand, right? The higher the ratio.
actually, that was natural lighting that day.
But it looks like it's in a studio or something, isn't it?
It's actually at an art gallery, but there's a big open window in front of them. So all that lighting was just natural that came on in.
Well, that kind of proves my point that even with like a very even natural, maybe even relatively soft lighting, you get a lot of contrast. You get a lot of snap. Maybe not.
Well, I did have an ND filter on them as well. I did need that specifically for this because of how bright the light was.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, if without it, it would have overblown the scene and everything, or I would have had to make it darker and it wouldn't have been as nice for the post editing. This is actually not really going to be used, nor necessarily indicative of the final, you know, product. You want to see. Let me go bring up one. How a lot of it looks like. Maybe to you it's too sure, but it's everybody what you choose in the end for yourself. But a lot of it isn't a lot of movement on top of it. So when you have stuff like that, obviously people look sharp with these. They're not going to have too much motion blur. But you'll see when they're moving.
second one's green screen? No way.
No, the last one I sent, I just linked over, is not green screen. Are you
Right.
talking about the second video that I
Yeah,
did?
where
with the-
she's playing guitar.
Oh no, that's
Yeah, yeah.
that
Okay.
iconic images gallery down in New Jersey.
Very, very, very sharp. Right?
Well, yeah, but that's also 4K recorded at and so forth.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, like that particular scene going on, if you physically move the camera closer to her, would the guitar become like out of focus? I
If
mean,
I were to change the focal length, yes.
but
I
if
mean,
you
it would have to be
physically,
a really, really tight one, like say maybe 150 plus, so that you don't shoot at. Really, unless you have some scenario for some reason you need something that high.
because it seems to me that with these video cameras, everything's on one plane. You know what I'm saying? Everything is
Well,
like
if you
everything's in focus. There's really no depth. Even in the one of her playing, the pictures in the background, they're a little out of focus, but like the stand with the picture of This Is Love, Ellie Testone, that's very sharp. You would figure that,
Oh yeah, I think I was
and
shooting at
yeah,
35. If I was at 50, the background would have had more of it. But yeah, that again, these are for interviews and so forth, and you want to be able to show off some of things. This isn't cinematography.
yeah. No, I'm just trying to learn about the like the limitations.
Uh-huh.
They're very very forgiving, right? Very forgiving.
Yeah.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell
Mhm.
how,
Yep.
how it plays out. Certainly, that's not what I want to do, but learning about it is kind of, in a way, knowing more about how this whole data style, modern world recording works can affect how you look at ultimately an image will appear. Or like if you pre-visualize an image, how it can be accomplished on a
Yeah, so I have a question for you. Are you worried about it being just general sharpness, or is that what you're more worried about, is having controlling the bokeh and the depth of field?
uh
Because that's
well,
what it seems to be.
it seems to me that I want it to look like it wasn't shot on a video, even though it was. You dig?
Mm.
Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where there's some forgiveness. It seems like these videos, they're made in such a way that nothing is forgiven, or no mistake can, or how I'm trying to say it is, sometimes it's almost too perfect, right? Like that, the shot of the girl playing the guitar. I mean, everything was in focus, everything was evenly lighted, everything, you could read the writing on the guitar pegs. And that is an effect, sure, but I don't know. It's almost like you have to overcome. There are no limitations to overcome. You have to almost add limitations to it to give you some creativity.
Well, yeah, but that's part of filmmaking. Is you want to, if you want to see in a specific way, obviously you're gonna shoot it a specific way. Like if you want the side of my face covered in shadow or something, if you're filming me,
Yeah.
you're gonna set it up that way.
Got
You're
it.
gonna set up, like, again, for what this is from Donna's Happy Hour, that's all interviews. That is all, her talking and them talking back and forth, and her, of course, her being a singer, playing her music.
Do you got anything with like more dramatic lighting, like with a lot of highs and lows and maybe some mids, like
The John Benieri thing I showed you, them talking, that had more dynamic lighting. As you see, his face isn't evenly lit on that. That was the link above the last one I sent you.
like a film noir, like how that is, where you have these really cascading shadows and the background is taken off with some kind of edge lighting or something like that, where you see how contrasty that stuff go, like a ring or edge light around somebody, or because those are kind of effects that I wouldn't mind exploring, but if it blows out the image.
The best way I could honestly show you for an image of that would probably be my daughter's concert. I haven't shot something directly of that other than like say when my daughter was singing in her band or something like that. Let me see if I
Yeah, that would be
have it
interesting.
saved at an image of that.
And that was all existing lighting from the stage things.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Existing status, the lighting of the stage. I was in the back, and you got the people who are sitting in, the auditorium and everything. And it'd be under render. Yeah, there we go. See how this comes out. Like this will show you more pops. And mind you, with this, I did have an ND filter. You have to have an ND filter when you're shooting something like this, because again, you see in the bottom the people in the stands and so forth. It's so dark and whatnot versus in the very main stage area itself. I mean, the main stage area is primarily decently lit, but
Well, you can crystal clearly see every kid's face in that shot.
yeah.
Wow. Look at the quality on this camera.
Right?
Yes.
Mhm.
What? Right.
And yeah, I did have to use this program I have, Neat. It's a noise reduction program, very complex, high quality, that gets rid of the noise in there. That's why you don't see any film grain in this shot, because it was removed. But then again, this is a school concert, not exactly looking to keep something like that in there. This is from an HDR version too. The player I have, thankfully, can bring everything into range for SD.
Does that have the ability to do more of a portrait shot, so it kind of intentionally blurs out the background and the focus is more on, like, for narrative use, the subject that you're filming?
Well, yeah, again, that deals with focal length. The higher the focal length, the more bokeh and depth of field you get.
Yeah.
Like, again, though, for this, I'm not exactly shooting for depth of field. I'm trying to make sure I have everybody, especially on stage, in focus.
Oh, you did.
Oh, yeah, I did.
You did. Great shot.
Thanks.
That was the music.
Better than CJ.
Yo, burn. Shots fired.
I'm sorry. But
All
when
right.
you got when you got people playing string instruments and everything, and then like middle school, you're gonna hear every wrong note that is hit.
Yeah.
There's
and we
some
had mics like right there in the front, and then of course the boom on the top. Forget it.
Oh my god. Filming this and then doing the Astoria, the Astros Award. I got home, I ordered 2 more of those 15-footer XLR cables. Ugh.
But why?
No, why? Because I
Yeah.
was told that the speaker for the at the Astro Awards at the place we shot it at was going to be on the stage. They were 10 feet in the air.
Oh, up in the ceiling.
Up on the left and the right. I did not have a long enough XLR. I only had 30 feet.
Oh,
I couldn't reach that.
yeah, that kind of sucks. It's not like we had a soundboard where we could actually have it go through the mic, which then into the board and then to the speaker or something like that.
Exactly. And
Uh.
I'll tell you this, I completely forgot how sterile the sound environment is at my old high school, because that's where this was shot at. It's very clean, like there is no reverb. I'm like, it is so well built that you could literally probably do studio recording work inside there. And I mean, to me, I was like, I wish there was some reverb. There's no reverb. There's none. I had, if you look at the bottom, the left bottom, low more towards the left near the bottom of the stage, you'll see my one of my shotgun mics there. But I didn't need it. The shotgun mic I had on the Rode I had on top of my Pocket Cinema captured it beautifully with how it all is there. But yeah, I've got to be heading on out soon. Do you have any other questions, Gary?
No, that was very informative. Very informative. Excellent. Thank you.
It's time for me to have
You're
dinner.
welcome.
Take the dog for a walk.
Yeah. All right. We can wrap it up. It's fine. We had a great meeting.
No, I'm glad you guys, that was actually, you guys were talking shop. That's what this is for. You got to ask the questions when you get the opportunity.
Definitely.
And hopefully Sunday I can get on Zoom. I had a hard time last time. I don't know.
I saw you entered the room and then I got on the call. Then I just didn't see it in the chat room anymore. And then a couple guys jumped on, Shalom, Chris, we were talking and,
So you just got to wait till everybody turns on, right? I mean, maybe I just didn't have the patience. I thought
you were early. You were definitely you were on time. I started almost just before 4:00 because I had a podcast right before. And yeah, I came in. I didn't even notice that you entered the room until I checked my emails after the call.
Yeah. I'll try it again. I'll be there at 4.
But you were in the right place at the right time. 4:00.
Gary,
Yeah.
if you have any other questions, you can write down my information that I have on my cam here.
Yeah. I
And then
see
you can just hit me up.
Ben Sire Studios.
Yes. You can on phone, you could call, text, or WhatsApp. It's all good.
Oh, let me take your phone instead. Old school, man. I am old school.
That's all good. Funny thing with me is I'm all fine with friends texting and so forth back and forth, but dealing with clients or talking with clients and things or helping people out, I always want to talk on the phone. It's just because you can hear how the person sounds when you're talking with them,
Yeah. They're never gonna get rid of telephones. Don't worry about that. Or in person, especially
Yes.
in this kind of business, things happen in person.
Oh yeah.
Things.
Actually, yeah.
Social
I'll
aspect.
send
It's
you-
a very social business making films.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Jim,
right,
I'm
I
gonna
gotta
go
be
to-
going.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Till next time,
Have a
everybody.
good night.
All right, you
Thank
take
you.
take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, Mario. See you soon. Good night, Gary. Bye.
Bye-bye.